microphone. Like, Chris, does this sound okay on our? Like, do we sound?
The sound is perfect on my side.
Great. Roll Tide.
Okay.
I'm not an Alabama fan per se. I just like to say.
Well, it says we are live. Let me see.
All right, Roll Tide.
There you go.
Probably. Does that one have batteries or?
This light.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it shows that we are live right now on YouTube, so I think we're good. So, perfect. Well, welcome, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all. How's it going tonight?
We're good, man. Thanks for having us.
Good, no problem. So, obviously, it's Efdot. We got Andy Friedman, we have Blake Jamieson. No surprise to anyone here who we're talking to. So, obviously, this week at Bleecker Trading is all about Andy Friedman with Spotlight 70. So, Andy, what do you have going on this week at Bleecker Trading?
This week, the exhibit is up. It's kind of a lifetime obsession with baseball card art, from index, both sides of an index card, drawings of front and back of baseball cards I drew when I was a kid, to my own Little League card with a cutout Topps trophy affixed to the bottom and my own signature on it when I was 11, to all kinds of embellished art cards from when I was a kid all the way up through high school and beyond to the Spotlight 70. I've kind of been drawing baseball cards my whole life as a kind of neutral ground for reconnecting and finding my creative flow.
Yeah. So last night you guys had a kids night, right? At the shop.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of little leaguers came in, had their caps and jerseys signed, and we had a lot of fun signing cards, talking about cards, talking about art. It's nice how that happens. Talking about baseball cards and art with all these art cards.
So Blake and Efdot, have you seen the Spotlight 70 cards in hand yet?
Yeah,
they're here.
Yes, they're here in house.
Oh, in house. There we go. Okay. What are you guys' thoughts of them?
They're awesome.
Yeah, I love the freedom.
Actually, I don't know where they went. Matt, maybe we can get some back in the frame.
I think my favorite thing about it really is just hearing from Andy some of the struggles he had as an artist, with carpal tunnel and like figuring out his style. Where at one point he was just telling me that he was so focused on perfection and getting everything just right that it took longer. It was more painful of a process, but of course the result was great. And then now he's kind of freed himself up and gone back to his roots of just like letting it flow, working with more pen and ink and watercolor to like let it bleed and let the imperfections come through. Mm-hmm. Which, look around all the artists that we follow on Project 70, everyone has a slightly different way of going about drawing a baseball card. So it's cool to see Andy just kind of like loosen up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Are those Spotlight 70 cards in your hand right there, Blake?
Yeah, they sure are, man.
Yeah.
Some of them have these dope white autos.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I put all
91 tops right there. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, these are fire. They're very cool, man.
They were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun to make.
You got the backs of them.
Yeah.
Are the backs glossy? I've not opened mine yet, so I have my 20 boxes here to the side, but I've not opened them yet.
They're pretty good.
There are a lot of short-run surprises, and so every card has 50 glossies, and they're numbered on the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I pulled one glossy out of this pack at Matt.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tag is not the right word, but
there are
that's 43 or 50.
Yeah, there are rainbow foil versions of some cards. There are, red backs. There are numbered 70 parallels where that says Spotlight 70 on the card, a little Spotlight 70 logo.
Okay.
There are autograph cards.
Yeah.
There are one-of-one CMYK test plate versions of each card. Some of those have autographs on it.
Okay.
10 lucky collectors will open their pack to find an original drawing signed one-of-one by me of a stick of gum. Okay. There's all kinds of fun. I really feel like it was not only a tribute to Topps' legacy of graphic design and portrait photography, in baseball cards, but a tribute to just the whole phenomenon of what collecting is and could be. There are error cards. You showed the Kent Urbeck, where he's catching that fly ball. You see his jersey, it says Twins, and it has a stripe underneath it. When I sent in that file, I forgot to paint the stripe. When I handed in the corrected file, I thought, can we like maybe run like maybe 4 error cards, like Herbeck no stripe. So there are 4 different cards. Manny Sanguian, where I forgot to paint the chain link fence behind him. So what's floating out there is like the Sanguian. There's a couple of cards in this area. There's errors. So the set is filled with those kinds of shoebox kind of surprises.
Yeah. So the bubblegum cards, those are actual sketch cards that you can find in the packages.
So eventually someone will open their pack and find. So far, we haven't seen anybody produce one, but there are 10 floating out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that the secondary market pricing of these cards has been, in my opinion, very strong for the real first art or card-based art set in a pack. We've spent 2 years now with Topps from the on-demand perspective, and this was kind of out of left field for us as far as the art design in a pack. So I've been very happy to see what these boxes are going for in the secondary market, along with the autographs and the parallels ever since they've been live for a few weeks now.
It's been fun to see. This is my first time working with Topps, which is an absolute dream for me. I didn't know what to expect, and I was actually kind of nervous about that. And I thought, like a whole new way to assess my worth, just what I need, eBay. But
Don't worry about eBay, man.
It's been fun to see. It's been fun to see. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing like having a card come out for 48 or 70 hours and then being told a couple days later it's good or bad based on a print run. So, Blake can have to go through that every couple of weeks.
If I see people having fun, it's good. It makes me happy. It's fun.
Yeah. So what do you all guys have planned tonight at Bleecker Trading?
This was the main thing on the docket.
Okay. There we go. Okay.
Eating pizza and drinking Modelo and talking sports cards, NFTs, and then, this conversation.
Yeah. So on NFTs, now the question I have for obviously Blake and Efdot here, who are very heavy into this, I basically I understand what they are. I understand the premise behind it, but you kind of lose me when it's like you own this digital image. It feels like you're selling me a world that doesn't exist yet or may exist in the future. And so, I understand that I can buy a sports card on Topps and then it comes to my house. Yet you can see it online, but you don't own the card unless you physically have it. So explain NFTs basically like I'm 5 right now for the average consumer, because I know there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding about NFTs right now.
Yeah, I think that the way it gets explained depends on the person you're explaining it to. So, like, for example, do you buy stock?
Do I? Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, like, yeah. So, okay. So, if you have a stock, you're buying it because you believe in that company, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways. And you can look at trading cards just like you can look at NFTs just like stocks. Of like, there's people that are going to buy just to like make a quick buck. There's people that are buying because of this long-term vision. And there's people in the NFT space, if we're talking stocks, because they really like how that stock looks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like visual, because there is like a visual, like there's a visual component. But like if you can wrap your head around stocks, like just because if you own 1,000 shares of Tesla, print out a piece of paper that says I have 1,000 shares of Tesla, and someone else that doesn't actually have the stock could also print out the same piece of paper that says I have 1,000 shares. Well, they could put that on their wall. They could show it to their friends and say, "Hey, look, I have all this Tesla stock." They're like, those people would be like, "Okay, cool. It's weird that you're showing me this paper," but like at the end of the day, like that doesn't translate, right? Like you don't actually own the stock. You have a picture of the stock.
Yeah.
And so I think what people get hung up on is like just in the picture of the thing within the NFT space, whether that's a video, a still image, a song, it could be anything. Like there is that component to it, and other people are able to enjoy those things too. But like the people that actually own that thing own the thing. Just like you own stock. If Tesla crushes it, and dominates, then that stock is worth more money. Same thing with the NFTs. If people are buying like a new artist or any artist, right? NFT, and then the artist like gains clout and respectability and like builds their brand, that stock is worth more. In this case, it's an NFT.
Yeah. But what about purchasing an NFT? I think that's where you lose me too. Like I can go to Topps and give a MasterCard and buy a Spotlight $70, but it seems like there's like gas fees people are talking about and stuff that's kind of over my head when it comes to buying this from an artist.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is like anything that's a gas fee is like it's transaction fees.
Okay.
And so if you're going and making a purchase with your American Express card and you're buying a physical box of cards at a store, you're swiping your card. It's whatever, $89.99 plus like tax and whatever. Like you're going to swipe your card. It's $100. Like that store is paying American Express a transaction fee, 2.5%, 3%, very standard. Also, like if we're talking collectible market, sorry, these lights are going nuts right now. Like in the collectible market, like also on top of that, like eBay, right? There's going to be seller's fees. Like there's fees, like there's infrastructure to run the life that we all get to live. And that's all like charged and kind of monetized in different ways. And we usually just don't see the transaction fees of our day-to-day life because that's baked into the price of the bread that we're buying or the eggs or the box of baseball cards. Like we see tax, we're like, okay, that just goes to the state. But there are like transaction fees that American Express is charging Bleecker Street Trading to run that card, right? And so in that case, Bleecker's just paying it and you as a consumer are not seeing it. Now in the NFT space, it's decentralized. It's all very like public, right? That's kind of the beauty of it is that everything exists on this public ledger where every single transaction that happens on the blockchain we can see, and it's like that's in stone, right? Forever. And so now we're just seeing things like transaction fees, which are called gas fees with NFTs. That's similar just to like an American Express charging Bleecker Street Trading to process a transaction to take your US dollars and give them US dollars. Like Amex is going to take a couple dollars, right? That we're used to that. And in that situation, like we're very comfortable with it. Once we get to see it in front of our face, right? Like if you get to actually see like the taxes, like think about people that buy like gas, right? Gasoline has insane amounts of tax. Imagine if when you swiped your card, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to pay $2 a gallon to this local Shell station, and then I'm paying $1.25 a gallon to OPEC or something, right? Like some other like tax, right? That happens. We just don't see it. And so now, like within the NFT space with the gas, it's right in front of us, and we're like, oh, this is a transaction fee that fluctuates based on the traffic of how many transactions are happening. And so it's like if with Uber, we see Uber like there's surge pricing, right? If everyone's trying to get an Uber, it surges up. Same thing as with gas. And now we're just getting confronted with it. It's actually not really a new thing, or like shouldn't really surprise us, I think, that much. Just in this context, it's like, what the heck is that? It's usually
I just want to add one more thing to that. Blake did a good job.
I told that. Yeah, I didn't mean to.
Blake had a lot more time with his hands in the space as well, so I trust Blake to give a better definition than I do. I usually use analogy with my friends sometimes of like rewards points. You know, when you go to CVS or an airline, like you have rewards points, like you already have digital currency and you kind of don't realize it, and that company owns it. And yeah, one day CVS might close down and your favorite airline might close down, and then your rewards points are like kind of gone, right? Yeah. But we bank on those things because we bet on those companies being around. Just like with Ethereum, like with blockchain, like Blake said, it's set in stone. Well, it's not really set in stone. It's digital stone. It's like ones and zeros. But that's the same thing with all of our other digital currency that we already have and all of our other rewards points, even tops those rewards points that you probably are really familiar with. So that's one thing. And then
I mean, even like think about like if we're talking about like digital stone, right? Like we all have bank accounts and we're comfortable putting most of the money that we own is sitting in someone else's vault, right? And then we're getting the digital version. So us like it's not like betting on the internet sticking around to go into like crypto. It's like that's just already what we bet on. Like
I think you're hoping the internet stays around, and that might go.
What's that?
But I think you're hoping the internet stays around because if the internet dies, I mean, I have my Spotlight 70 box right here. This is mine. If the internet dies, I've lost everything.
Yeah, but
who's gonna like it?
Yeah, but exactly. Like if the internet, let's just say, if the whole grid went down and all power went down, and like we had no access to the money in our bank accounts, and all we had was the stuff within our house, like in our structures where we live.
Yeah,
that would become a crazy barter world where, like, I mean, I hope that like all my Project 2020 cards would get me something. I don't know. I don't know that they would, right? But also neither would like dollars, right? If I just saved cash underneath my mattress and the whole grid went down and we're like, all right, back to the barter system, I wouldn't give a shit about trading for dollars. I'm like, yo, you got food, you got clothes, you got toilet paper, like
it's some
I don't know.
apocalyptic.
It's totally it's crazy. Like, yeah,
it's like book and buy stuff. I get you. So
yeah.
I'm planning basically around like the next generation, just developing the internet further. So setting up a business that works on the internet, trusting that the next generations will carry it forward and keep evolving it. There's already websites that are working on Web 3.0 that let you log in with your wallet. That isn't a username and password that you're making for that website. It's just one wallet that you have that has all your assets in it, or you keep a separate wallet as your vault, and this is sort of your hot wallet. And those websites are going to be, I think, popping up, like crazy next year. Time Magazine already has a Web 3.0 website, and they did a big NFT drop. So it's just a matter of time before most websites that are Web 2.0 right now convert over to be like a login with wallet.
Yeah, and I mean, and the pre that was like we could log into a bunch of things just with your Gmail, right, or just with your Apple. Like you see all these sites, you'd be like, oh, you want to sign up for Facebook? You can either type in your email, or you can say log in with Gmail. Log in with
Facebook.
Apple, whatever, or other sites like Next Level, like okay, you can log into this with Facebook. You don't actually have to make an account. It's linked to that. We're just like getting like closer and closer back to the root. Our root is like our one crypto wallet.
Right? Yeah, and it's decentralized. So I think the government and banks are kind of scared of it because they benefit from us keeping their money with them. Yeah. So it's sort of like this revolution that's happening where people are saying you can't really take this from me because you don't have my password, so I don't have to share it with you. Dude, it's decentralized.
It's insane though. Like you think about like how many people lose their password like to Facebook right every day, or to Gmail or whatever. Like all these there's no fucking help desk. Sorry if I can't swear on this. There's no help desk on like the blockchain in general. Usually, like I saw that Coinbase basically like opened up a hotline like for help desk like one day. And they just like completely crashed, like all the servers were completely overloaded, absolutely just couldn't. And there's a lot of jobs that are being taken away from people and being automated. And now if we're like going into this, if somebody like Coinbase is going to open up basically like a nerd bar, what's it called? Genius bar, right? From like Apple, like that's got to exist in the NFT sphere. And I'm sure that it will, but like the amount of people that are going to have to pick up, like not only just be super knowledgeable, but literally just be by the phone ready to tell people and walk people to be like, oh, try turning it off, turning it on again. Oh, you forgot your seed phrase. You're entirely screwed. Like you can't get back into your wallet. Like that's your one and only password that like no one, which is security wise interesting.
I think it's still in its infancy. It's all still in its infancy. Those first few websites that started popping up and accepting credit cards online, that's where we're at right now with NFTs. It's like it's just so young, and everyone's trying to figure out how to solve these problems. And then one more thing about the gas fees: different blockchains have different gas fees. Some of them have like no gas fees.
Yep.
So, and some of them are more eco-friendly than others as well. It's just some of them are more popular and where collectors hang out. So artists are forced to choose based on these different factors of where the gas fees, the popularity, like the artists and the collectors they want to be in front of, versus like all these sort of more altruistic factors of like which one technically has more carbon emissions based on the electricity used. So there's all these different options, and everyone's like racing to figure it out right now. It's just so young.
Yeah.
So Andy, obviously, the Spotlight 70. Sorry, what was that?
We're just laughing.
Sorry, just laughing. Because we got totally sidetracked.
Yeah. No, it's all good. But, yeah, I mean, like, so Topps has NFTs. Topps has not done Project 70 NFTs, but did they approach you around Spotlight 70, possibly making this an NFT part of their portfolio?
We'll see. It's a discussion that could be an interesting one to have.
Yeah.
But you haven't had it yet.
Not specifically.
Not yet.
No.
Yeah. From what I understand, it's a different part of the company. Like there's Topps Digital and then there's the cards. So it's just not even the same team of people working on it.
Oh,
so you
yeah,
have
makes
to
sense.
ask
Okay.
for an introduction to that person if you want it.
Right. I'm learning about it all. I'm just getting the hang of watercolor.
Yeah.
Seems like you got the hang of that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. Yeah. Well. So it's all interesting, the whole direction.
Yeah. Now I know that behind you, I think you were showing it on Instagram the other day. That is 40 different cards from 78 tops, right? I think it's sold, right? But what is that exactly behind you?
This is a 40 card set of painted original baseball cards based on random selections of somewhat lesser known players from the 1978 top set, front and back. They all do we have a little suction
Yes.
They all have a uniform back that's loosely based on the graphic identity of the 1978 Topps card. It leaves room for my signature and a little 1 of 1, and they're numbered. And it's a painting of a collection of cards, just like Cezanne can paint a mountain. I look at cards as objects that contain their own psychological truths, and that's what it is.
Okay.
I love how like the edges are like irregular.
They're torn. Yeah, I don't use a scissor. I like to tear all the paper. Same with the Spotlight 70 paintings. It's all torn. I like to keep them that way. So there's a checklist here, also front and back.
The last of the
And then,
40 cards,
Yeah, that's right.
39 portraits
I
in the
think
checklist.
it's the 40. Yeah, I think so.
Sick.
Mhm. So here's an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, get up there nice and close.
Yeah.
It's hard to see, but this
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
all the backs have this.
Oh, nice.
It's upside down. Yeah. And then they all have the branded sticker of authenticity. So yeah, that's it. And whether the owner will keep it as a set for their wall or bust it up and send them out to the world, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But the fun part is making them and putting them out there. I'm glad I found a home.
Now, obviously, I'm over here in Seattle, which is very far from Bleecker Trading. But if anyone is near Bleecker Trading, obviously they can come and view your artwork right now for the week. Are they able to purchase basically anything on the wall from you at the moment?
Everything on the wall and everything in the card displays are, if not everything, they will by the end of the week, everything will be. But right now, huge majority of the stuff is, most all of it is online at Bleecker Trading in the shop, available for sale. And things are moving. Things are moving, which is fun to see. People are having a lot of fun with this stuff. So yeah, that's all there, and that'll be up there. The exhibit also includes not only baseball card art from childhood to Spotlight 70, but also published illustrations, baseball-related illustrations. All of the original art from my interview with Mike Schmidt in the New Yorker. Some published illustrations, Yogi Berra, Frank Thomas for various magazines and newspapers. Down the hall over there, I'm looking at a wall of caricatures that I drew in 1992 when I was a junior in high school. Wow. of athletes that would be I would draw them on they would order them and I would sell the color copies and I'd keep all the originals. So I was like a character peddler in high school. Also available is my business card from that business, which was called Sportscards Caricatures, and I found the last remaining business card.
Nice.
So I used to peddle them, and I would make New York Islanders because I lived really close to the Nassau Coliseum. And I would peddle them at home games. And I was 15 years old, and I ran into the players' wives section without knowing it.
Nice.
And they were really get them autographed, which sold for 5 times the amount the next day. So that was a lot of fun. So
Cool.
I've been drawing characters and baseball stuff my whole life. So that's what's on the wall besides the cards.
Cool.
And a lot of common player here. I'm sorry, not common. Lesser known. This is an illustration from an essay I did in the New Yorker called "The Loneliness of the Common Player," and it really is about how I came to start drawing these cards after a hand injury.
Okay.
And the gallery will be open, and there will be a stage and mic and all that stuff set up in the back. There'll be drinks and food, and I'm going to do a concert that in the backyard as part of the party from 8 to 9. And it's just me and a guitar, and it's my first public performance in 5 years. So it's exciting. It's exciting, and it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. And then it'll come down on Sunday. And to the next. Yeah.
So you're saying everything that's on the walls right now can be purchased, at least viewed on the Bleecker Trading website at the moment.
Viewed and purchased.
Okay. So are you taking Spotlight 70 somewhere else after this, or are we just doing this one-time week thing with them at the moment?
I did a small version of what we're seeing here on the way to the National. I stopped in Triple Play in Columbus, Ohio. Great shop. They had me set up a little wall of a lot of this work. We had a signing. People came down and met. It's something that I could put into the truck and tour around with, just like I did with my music, and it's something I plan to do. So now that this has really constructed itself, and I could really see how far you can kind of take an exhibit like this, I'd like to take it around the country for sure, whether it's in card shops a week at a time or just makeshift walls and you pop up for a day and move to the next town, like Bruce Banner.
Yeah, because at the National, you had, I think, a 4 or 5 display set up for your artwork there, and interviews people who've seen Spotlight 70 at the beginning. That's where we first met at the National.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. There must have been 30 or 40 original pieces there hanging up in frames, I think. It's fun to travel. I like to travel with the work. It's nice to have people come to the gallery, but I like traveling. I like meeting the people where they are. And it's a lot of fun to do traveling and find an audience through the collectibles world rather than the music world. Because as much as I've toured for 10 years, almost 100 shows a year. As much as I loved offering what I offered, and people came home with something. Maybe it's enlightenment, entertainment, an album. With the collectibles world, the audience, there's a little extra something because there's like almost a vested financial interest in showing up. So it's a lot of fun to put yourself out there because people come and want to see the stuff, and they're collectors, and they can sell it the next day. Like music, you can't really do that. So it's fun to see people, meet people, and put the stuff out there.
Mm-hmm. Now, from what's a next, I'm getting really weird feedback on your end.
What's that?
I'm getting really weird feedback on your end.
We're in New York City. It's just
okay. So, from a what's next perspective, has Topps approached you around maybe like a second series of Spotlight 70?
We'll have to wait and see what's next. Something next.
Okay.
Something.
So I guess this is for everyone now. Look, we spent 2 years doing this on-demand card art business with Project 2020 and now Project 70. It really feels that Topps is going very heavy into 2022 with this pack-based product. Lauren Taylor has her own set now. Blake's had his own set. Efdot has his Stadium Club series, which is not pack-based. But where do you all see the card art business going with Topps, understanding that in 4 to 5 years, it may not be around because of what Fanatics is doing, but that's a whole nother topic altogether. But from a card art perspective, where do you all see the future being? More on demand or more pack based?
Man, well, I think that like card art, just because Topps might not have the MLB license in a couple years, like card art's beyond baseball. Mm-hmm. So, Topps still has a ton of properties: Star Wars, F1, Mars Attacks. Soccer leagues,
GBK.
GBK. Like, there's so much stuff. So I know that, like, and it's interesting now looking back at like hearing this, even at the National, which is before the Fanatics news was announced, and who knows, like maybe Topps knew, maybe they didn't. But like Jeff said that next year somebody had asked like if they were planning on doing another art set, and they said that they were, but it was going to be beyond baseball. And I didn't know at the time if that meant baseball plus something else, or now it might literally just be other, like, not baseball, right? So who knows? But I don't think it doesn't like take away from the card art industry as a whole. Like, I think Project 2020 and everything since then has been really good at putting art on the map and having, like, overlap with card collectors, hobby community, and art collectors, which, those collectors share a lot of commonalities. One being, like, at the end of the day, like, you're not buying a piece of cardboard, you're buying a tiny story. And that story means different things to different people. And the art that each of us artists are putting out resonates with different people. And so I think that will continue regardless of whatever happens licensing wise with the MLB. It doesn't matter. We could be doing, GPK, F1, soccer, like all these other things, right? Or some of us artists, whether it's any of us or other artists, are gonna come and work with a company like Fanatics and continue to create, I think, their own artistic renditions of sports cards.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that Fanatics might just buy Topps?
100%.
So nothing would change at that point, right? So I don't know if that's going to happen. That's why I asked it as a question. But it's possible, right? So that's one potential way I can see it going, where nothing changes that much. It's just Fanatics gets to have more say in what products get released, and it might go more on demand, and it might go more pack based. Mm-hmm. I like that with both Project 70 and Project 2020, there is a limited edition offering as well. It's not the cheaper option, but it's the more premium option. And
the APs,
the APs and then the foils this year are numbered as well. And so I think that from a long-term perspective, those are going to be timeless, especially because they're numbered and they're not in the form of a print on demand. Print on demand still will have its own value, but obviously it's like variable in terms of how many end up going out there and what time of year it gets launched, and if it's close to a special event. And the limited series are more interesting to me in a lot of ways, because then the idea of like judging an artwork based on
So you cut out there at the end, Efdot.
I was just saying, the art by, I guess you could judge it by like how fast it's sold out, but we're cutting out a little bit. Like I don't like that the art is so driven by sales numbers. Even to the point where as an artist, I have to keep reminding myself, like, I don't have to do anything with crazy pop culture references if I don't want to, even though that would probably boost the sales. So it's like I don't have to do that. I don't want to be affected by that. I want to just do my vision, and I think when it's limited and if the playing field is even, it leads to more strong visions and less like grabbing at like current events or pop culture things if they don't really fit well. And I catch myself too. Sometimes I'll lean too far in one direction and be like, am I just doing this because I know it's going to sell, or am I doing this because I really want to do this? So I have to. Certain cards have different purposes. Yeah.
You guys think that Project 70 has been fair across the board at the moment for all 51 artists? I mean, we have an artist that's done a back to a card, which has been unheard of. I mean, are you all playing on the same playing field at the end of the day in Project 70?
Ski did it. Otani.
Ski the back?
The back's different.
Immediately it was like, I would love to do the back of my card as well. And I said it was a one-time thing for DJ Ski. It's also certain things happen where they get the rights to a new player. And they announce it, and like the next day there's a card out for that player. So like one of the artists found out about that in advance. I don't think that they're all on the same level. No. Also, like, if I could re-choose my timeline of which players got released in my first or second card, I probably would have chosen differently had I had the choice. Because I think the first card in the set definitely sets the tone for the rest of the set. So I don't know. It's something that there's probably a lot of meetings happening behind the scenes that we don't really get to see. In the end, there's a lot of influencers and brands involved in the project, and that's the direction that they decided to go. And I'm just grateful to get to do it again this year. And so I'm not trying to be too salty about any of these decisions that happen behind the scenes, because I understand that in the end they have to do the best they can to get it out there, and that means working with influencers and brands and sometimes giving them priority if they have more reach. So I understand it. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's naive to think that like every artist doesn't get a little bit different treatment, but it's like I think that we all started out with the same opportunities, and certain artists have captured like the hobby's hearts, right? And if Topps wants to lean into that in whatever fashion that might mean, like giving people the opportunity to make the back of the card, or I mean, like I was the first person to do an auto card, and that was because Kelnick. Like I had just done the Kelnick card, and like they had just done an auto deal with him, and so I said, "Hey, you guys, hey, there you go."
Yeah.
So I like asked them. I was like, "Could we do a player auto on this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we were gonna let everybody do one player auto, so you can just be the first one," which like gave me an advantage because it was the first time an auto was offered, and those sell out super fast. And like Kelnick didn't even. I mean, he did great at his first hit, and then like it's been up and down as it is in professional sports. So like in that sense, like I totally capitalized on a relationship with Topps, and like a previous, they trusted me from Project 2020, and they let me do the first Kelnick card. And then when I suggested doing the autos, like they already apparently had that in their back pocket. They were like, well, everyone's going to get to do one. You could just be the first one. I still got to capitalize on that, right? And that's awesome. And so if somebody like Ski gets to do the first back, like they might have said, "Oh, that was a special thing." But like, who knows? By the card 1200 or whatever we're gonna get to, like they might do it back. Like we have no idea.
Yeah. Blake also works fast. I know that about his process. So he can turn around a card quickly, and if you ask me to do the same card, I'd still be working on it like a day later. So sometimes they have to roll with those things. If there's a call up from the minors or whatever, call Blake, right? So and then another thing, like you just have to keep asking because I wanted a certain card to come out with the timing of an event, and they said, "Oh, a lot of other artists have asked for that same thing." So I said, "Okay, what about this idea?" And then you just have to keep like working with them and come up with an idea that they're usually down to work with you if you ask, except for certain things like the back of the card, where it's like, "Not sorry, one-time thing for DJ Ski," but who knows? I'm sure.
I feel like give it 2 more weeks and ask again, and it might be different.
Different answer. Exactly. Now, Efdot, since you took your Field of Dreams cards, which that series or that little sub-series did not get released in its entirety, who was the player that you removed from your list to get that Yankee team card into your 20-card set?
Good question. It's actually not a specific player. I had a kind of a loose floating list of 19, or at the beginning it was going to be 2 wrapper cards. Now it's just 1 wrapper card. So I had 18 top players. And I also had like 20 backups. So I just kept moving through based on the cards that they were asking me to do. And then when I came up with the idea, once I wasn't able to have that Field of Dreams card be an official Field of Dreams card, I was like, let's put it in the set. I didn't really bump out any other player at that moment. I just said, that'll be my next card, and then I'll figure out the rest of the list after that. So sorry, I don't have a good answer.
No, that's actually another question here is the wrapper thing still happening? I mean, Chuck Stiles released a somewhat of a wrapper card with his 52 mantle, but that's not a wrapper card, I don't think. So is the card a direct artwork of a pack? What's the art card going to look, or the pack card going to look like?
It's going to look different for every artist for sure. You know that.
Well, yeah.
They gave us
it's not going to have a player on it.
No, it won't have a specific player on it.
It might have a generic player of that.
Yeah, if that year.
Back, right?
Mine will definitely have a big blob on it, probably.
Yeah.
In place of a player, if I go with one of those years. But I haven't started working on it yet. They gave us the spreadsheet of all the players that we could use, a Dropbox folder of all the different Topps years and the designs, as well as all the wrappers. So we have scans of all the wrappers over the years, and it's kind of up to the artists to reimagine whichever one they want in their own style. And to answer your question, Chris, like the short answer is we don't know. Okay. Because when it started, we were told we were going to be doing 2 wrappers. So each of us had picked a couple wrapper years as well as 18 players. At some point in the year, they sent a group email saying, "Hey, we're going to trim it down to 1." But like obviously, no wrapper's been released. Like Topps has told me like, "Oh, we're going to do the wrappers kind of near the end to like spark things up, right?" But
who knows? I mean, maybe they won't do any. I have no idea, but I would guess that if they do it, it's going to drop in full explosion fashion from someone like Pardee or Ski or Lauren Taylor or Ben Baller. Like those, somebody will get to do the first rapper card, and that might be a big deal, or it might be a flop, right? And then they might pivot and say, "Oh, we're going to do something else." Like this is it's a work in progress, I think, for all of us. Like definitely us artists, but like even I think at Topps is more of a work in progress than like it's not just all said. It's like I don't think they have a certain date of like, oh, by November 30th we're gonna have our first rapper out and we're gonna be dropping one rapper a week for the rest of the 50 whatever we I have no idea.
But I think you could make the argument that's probably what should be happening. I mean, it's 1,000 card set. It should be very structured. I mean, it shouldn't be like a random thing that occurs with the rapper cards, because a lot of people have said they're not interested in the rapper cards and they could be the lowest printed cards of the set. So it's just something,
Yeah, but that would make a whole different group interested in them, man.
Say what now?
That would make a whole different, think about if the first rapper card dropped tomorrow and then in a couple days, like it comes out and it's got a print run of like 400.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be insane on eBay. And then whoever gets to do the second rapper card is the lucky one, right? Yep. Because then we're going to have the flippers back in the game. Like it's just that's like the fun part about it. And even like us as artists, like if we sell a ton of cards, that's fantastic because we get some royalties off every card sale. If we don't sell a lot of cards, the print run's lower. Well, then hopefully we bought some of our own cards, and the secondary market sale reflects the fact that that was a limited print run. And so like we're able to capitalize on that. And so I think like as long as like us artists are investing in ourselves and buying some of our own cards in like reasonable quantities, we're kind of hedging our bets. We're like, we could go either way. Like it could be a great print run and we're solid and we just are sitting on a bunch of cards, or the print run's low and we're sitting on a bunch of cards that are now worth more money than had the print run been higher.
Mm-hmm. So you were the first artist, Blake, to release 2 cards in a single week. And you, of course, pulled the Mookie Betts back at the very beginning. And my understanding was you were not going to release that card. And then that card showed up on your new gallery on the big wall. So I figured maybe it's going to come out. But I was very surprised that you did release the Mookie Betts after all.
Yeah, so it being on my wall in the gallery has nothing to do with it coming out. That's just like, it's finished art and I'm proud of it. So I'm going to put it on the wall. I didn't plan on having that come out ever. And then basically like Topps was in my studio shooting a Meet the Artist video, which would be one of the upcoming interviews coming out. They've been doing a bunch of those. And the day that they were in there, I had just hung up everything and we got to kind of see them all. And they mentioned to me that they were like short a card. They're like the next day, the following day, whatever day it was, they're like, we have 3 out of 4 cards to release, or 2 out of 3. I think it's 3 out of 4. They're just like, we don't know what we're releasing. And I was technically like 1 day late on my latest card. And I'm usually pretty on time, but like within like a day or two. And so like I wasn't stressed about being 1 day late, but they're like, man, you didn't turn your card in. Now we have nothing to run with. And so I felt bad. And I'm like, well, Giants versus Dodgers, game 5. We could release my Mookie, and then if the Dodgers win, then they get their Dodgers card, and then if they lose, it's like, oh, boo-boo, which I was hoping that the Giants won. So I was hoping that the Giants would win, and then Dodgers would lose, and then I would release my Mookie, and then I could put out a little PSA to be like, all right, Dodger fans, like, ha-ha, but at least like here's one last card for you, which was like a callback because it's got like the catch from like the previous World Series that Mookie assisted in winning, right? So yeah, that was kind of the thought on that. And they're like, oh, I love that idea. And so they ran it, and Mookie actually had a great game. I think he had like 4 hits or something, like something silly. Like he had a solid game right before that card came out. So
is your next card going to be yellow as well? Because you've done 3 in a row with yellow.
Man, what's crazy too is that like I did that Mookie so long ago, and that's like I actually did the Joe Mauer at 1954 and yellow because I was like, and that was the point where I decided, all right, we're past the threshold of Mookie becoming a card. Like this is definitely going to go off to the fucking wayside, and I'm just going to do my new card so I can do another 54, and yellow looks great with that. Let's do that. So I did the yellow, And then Topps came in, and then we ended up launching the Mookie, and it was like side by side yellow 1954s, which I think was fun. I guess, I don't know, but yeah, probably no more yellow and no more 54s for at least a couple cards from me.
Now, Alex Pardee mentioned in Twitter, and Efdot replied to this, that he was pitched the idea that you guys needed to maybe do 2 or 3 decades over your entire set of Project 70. Were you aware of that, Blake, or is that just something that Alex Pardee was pitched when he joined Project 70?
No, that was a real thing. That was pitched to us. So like we come from a different space because we already did Project 2020, and so we've been through the ringer with Topps. Like Topps did tell us that at the beginning, in a broad scope onboarding email with the documents that Efdot talked about. Of like, we have a PDF of like every. There was a snippet in there saying like, please try to choose 2 or 3 cards from each decade, right? Just to fill it out.
I totally didn't see that.
They did it, but it was like a sentence. It was a sentence, and I saw it, and I kind of tried to structure it. And I remember like sending them the list, saying like, well, I didn't end up with exactly 2 or 3 per decade, but like roughly, like some had 4, some had 1, and they're like, that's totally fine. So yes, like Alex was correct, and like that was communicated to us, but it certainly wasn't like the law that Topps was like, this is how everyone has to do it. That was more of like a suggestion.
Okay,
is how
makes sense.
I don't know.
Say what now?
Oh, just that was like more of felt to me like a suggestion is how I understood it. That was communicated, but it wasn't like you have to do it this way.
Gotcha.
But part of that might be me seeing how Project 2020 worked, and like they said we had to use the reference cards, and then some people deviated, right, and used other reference cards, and we saw that Topps was like, okay, right? So like I probably didn't take that as seriously as Alex did because I know how things are fluid, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a question from Phil here. It says, do either Efdot or Blake have any cards coming of players that haven't been done yet? And we know Blake has the second rarest player set. He did release that Mookie, and it did ruin his ranking.
Who did I get passed by?
Don C. Just by default, because the Mookie had so many releases that you just got pumped down to number 2. Don C now has the rarest player set.
Well, that's super disappointing for me. Yes, to answer Phil's question, I will absolutely I'm trying to do as many players as I can that haven't been done. I will be doing Mark McGwire for sure. That's just my guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the only thing that I'm like really locked into at this point. Like,
okay,
I'm going to Matt all the time and be like, who should we do? I also like ask Topps. Like the Joey Votto was a suggestion of Topps, and same with like Miggy. And that was like they can't. I basically went to them and said, who do you guys think should have cards that haven't had cards? And they gave me like a big list. I picked Matt. We went through the list. We picked Joey Votto. We picked Miggy. You know, and trying to do it in timely ways that make sense.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Efdot?
Yeah, my next card has 4 players on it.
Nobody's with that.
I've done the dual player card, but this is a quad player card.
Oops, I think let's see if they catch up. We may have lost them all together here. I just sent them a text, so we'll see if they join back. Not good. And we've got about 10 minutes left, so if anyone has any other questions before they jump back on, we will get going. Oh, they lost power 1 minute, so maybe they'll get power back here soon. This is very weird being live. Normally I would do everything recorded and then I put it out there. So this is interesting doing this live. Exactly, Phil. He was just about to tell us the players, and he said he had 4, and then it cut out. So it was almost. We have to make sure he comes back and gives us the answer to that question. Hey, Amy, how are you? Wow, Rich, what is one player that you haven't seen yet that you want in your collection? It would be nice to have an Edgar Martinez card just from the Mariners, although I'm not the biggest Edgar fan, but to have Ichiro, to have Griffey, I think Edgar would be a perfect one for Project 70. And obviously, Lauren Taylor, you would think may release an Edgar in the future. Obviously, she's from the Northwest, so we will see if Edgar does get released here soon. So Phil, those are actually the displays back here. They're from Amazon. I'll share the link on Twitter here, or maybe in the comments on the video. But they're just little risers, and there's 2 per shelf, and they work perfectly. Most of the ones I was looking online were like for let's see, devices. Let's see, they were really small, but those ones are perfect for the cards.
We're back.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Efdot was about to tell us his 4-player card, then everyone cut out. So,
yeah, we're still here. Let's move over.
Good.
So, my next card is a 4-player card. It is the 3rd card in my Negro League subset.
Okay.
And I just wanted to include more and more players that didn't get included in the set. I wanted to include some players that never made it to the MLB, but there were very few exceptions that I was able to do with that just because of licensing. So there's 2 players that haven't been done yet, and then there's 2 players that have already been done. You can probably guess who some of those are just based on the players who were in the Negro League and made it to the MLB. And I included them in their original uniforms, which I'm excited about, and their team names, and that should be coming out either very end of this week or early next week, I believe.
Okay, perfect. So now, one complaint around Project 70 has been the reuse of players. And one thing interesting with Spotlight 70 is that there are no common players for the most part, Andy. I mean, you've done a really good job of getting a collection out there of players that really no one is collecting these days, older players. So was that your original intention when you released Spotlight 70 to keep it to the older players, no one new, no one really up and coming at the moment?
Yeah, there's a bit of sort of folklorist responsibility, I feel. Everyone's been doing such a great job on with the iconic cards and the iconic players, and I thought it would be fun to pass down some other names and to do a tribute to fan favorites. Mm-hmm. The original idea was to spring off of the even lesser known names, more obscure names, but we were limited in terms of what we had rights to. And so I guess Topps really thought they'd need the rights to certain names. So it was provided with a master.
You need
list.
all the obscure ones. I love it.
Is that why it's called Spotlight?
I was putting a spotlight on this in this case these players, and who knows whatever comes forward, but that is part of it. Yeah. So that was. I like to call it a tribute to the sort of shoebox collection too. There are Gem Mint 10s, there are slabs, but everyone's got shoeboxes also. Yeah. And the intrinsic value of some of these cards and the nostalgia factor that sort of goes beyond the player and their performance, and more like what I like to call the psychology of the cards. All that stuff goes into it for me when choosing the subjects.
Okay.
And I tried to stick to cards that came from my own shoeboxes. Okay. A lot of cards that I had from when I was a kid, I wanted to paint. There were a few that I had to go out and hunt for, and then that was fun also. I like to let the cards find me. Sometimes I go into a card shop or whatever and find a corner, and you just kind of one just comes out. It just finds you. Yeah. So I try and I'm very sensitive to that. I also painted almost 140 cards. So
Wow.
there are 70 in the base set, and I think there are maybe 25 alternate sort of parallel variation cards.
And each of those were hand painted.
All of them were hand painted.
That's amazing.
In about 3.5 weeks, I did close to 140 paintings. And the reason why I didn't write my list of which 70 are going to be in the set is because I just wanted to be painting and think, and I'll think later about about what I got. Basically, every painting is just sort of like, I just want to throw it on the floor. It's almost like I succeed when I'm willing to just fail, which is like just whatever, throw caution to the wind. So, even beyond the tribute to the cards, for me, it's a deeper performance of presenting a certain level of truth in my creative process. With ink and watercolor, you can't lie. So no matter when I'm painting baseball cards or landscapes, the performance comes through. And what I learned from watercolor is like the whole game is not to mess with it once you put the stroke down. And you always want to fix it, try to fix it or whatever. But the whole game is to kind of keep it going. I had so much fun with the backgrounds of some of the crowds, the way the crowds blur in the back. I tried to capture the way the film looks in some of these cards, and just to tap with pigment and watch it spread in the water. Yeah, it was a deeper performance.
So of those 140, like those right, which is 40, I think. Those are some of the 140.
No,
I
did it a few weeks ago. Separate. Yeah, no, these were not part of Spotlight 70. This is Spotlight 70.
And so is Spotlight 70 all that size?
The original Spotlight 70. Yeah. Most of the Spotlight 70 original paintings were 5x7. There are a few that are larger, like the Roberto Kelly and the Tom Hankey. There are, I think, maybe the Dave Concepcion, but I like to keep them pretty small because I didn't want to reduce too much because of that performance factor. I really wanted that to be seen,
It's awesome.
So I got a question for you guys, actually. So this performance, this like truth that you're talking about, for me, that doesn't hold any bounds. Like there's no limit to that. It's just endless, right? Like you're an artist, you're creating these one-of-one artworks for your whole life. We're all in it for a lot of the part just to make art, and we want to keep being able to do this. When you come into the collectibles world and you have a collector mindset, or the collector has a collector mindset, it's obviously hard to process that, because knowing where the set is going to end is important. Having a start, a finish, or some kind of level to the rarity of everything. I'm just curious, like how that introduction of that variable of the collector mindset or doing things in sets has maybe changed your artistic practice for better or for worse, or just like, has it made you think or second guess, or like, do you just try to stay true to what you were doing before the collections came into play?
Yeah. At the core, there's no collection, there's no sets, there's no waves, there's no one-on-ones if I don't follow through with the creative process first. So I really try to push everything out, which is why I painted more than I didn't want each painting to be like, speak now or forever hold your peace. I wanted to just do 3 or 4 versions of each one and choose later. As a performer and as a visual artist, what I try to do is not consider the audience. I don't try to consider the audience. I try to say what I gotta say, which I think is what the Thurman Munson card and the 21 Tips of Maximum Engagement in Watercolor conceptual art card set that's available here. You can look at it on Bleecker Trading says. Tell your story and nothing more. Say what you gotta say. Because ultimately, as an artist, I feel a responsibility to naturally and honestly unfold, present all of my vulnerabilities. And if I'm considering the audience and thinking about what they might want, it infects the process for me and the ultimate performance that I want to be engaging in. So once the work is made, then I can start thinking about all that kind of stuff. So the process of curating it and then thinking about what the collectors might like in terms of the variations, the glossies, all that stuff, is another part of the process. It almost feels just as creative as the painting part. So I'm definitely into that part, but I separate. That's a good question. Well, I answered it fairly.
Yeah.
What about you? You want to come back in?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
He's a mystery man.
You had to repeat the question.
It's cool because we're all coming from different backgrounds here. Like I studied graphic design and product design originally, and then went back to my roots of art after that. And Blake, you studied marketing and then went back to art after that. So it's like, I'm curious to hear this, your point of view on it. Really, the question is, as an artist, it feels like what you're creating, what you're doing every day, what you want to do every day, it doesn't have a start and or an easy way to scale it. It's like there's all these rules that come into play with collecting and with making collections with tops and even making your own collections. And it seems like there's this mindset in there of where does it stop, where does it start, and does that like get into your artistic process at all? Did it change the way that you started viewing your art or making your art after you started working with tops?
Yeah, long question. I think that like for me personally, for like from a goal perspective, my goal is to get to a point in my life where every single morning I wake up at whatever time I want, and then I get to choose what am I going to do today. And if the answer is whatever the fuck I want, then I'm winning, right? So that's the ultimate. And part of this journey along the way to get to like really like every single morning, whatever time I want to wake up, whatever I want to do, that's what I'm doing that day. Fitting within boundaries of companies like Tops, projects like Tops, or it could fit into like, other, whether it's other artistic projects in the physical world or in the digital like NFT world. I'm always just trying to build towards like whenever I want to wake up, whatever the fuck I want to do. And so like even like looking at a project like Tops now, and I have a different viewpoint in Project 70 than I did in Project 2020 because I was much more concerned about what the hobby thinks, what the collectors think, what the long-term value is for them, what the community vibe is, all the warm and fuzzy stuff. And that's part of it. Like that is important to me, and I want that like artistic community. But like this year with Project 70, I'm like, wake up, what do I want to do today? I'm going to paint the Tops card. All right, what does Tops say? Tops says Joey Votto's hot. Tops says Mickey's hot. Cool, let's do that. Like I'll knock that shit out, and like that does feel like work because it is work. Like I'm going to work, but that's what I do right now. I wake up and I go to work making my art, and if that maybe is a Mickey card to fit within this box of Tops, and then I'm able to put that out and like really like detach from print runs. Like I'm so much in a different headspace this year. I was really like zoned in on that last year and locked in on the Facebook group and what they were saying and YouTube and how many people were showing up and how many comments I was getting and what they were saying on Blowout, like all those fucking things. And I realized that like getting tied up in all that shit really fucking just gets me farther away from what time do I want to wake up today? What the fuck do I want to do today? And like I was able to get back to that this year in a really meaningful way for me, where like I've had a really fulfilling like good year. I can't believe that it's October and like we're getting to the end of it because I feel like it just started. But I feel like I put a lot less emphasis on what the collectors say, what Tops said, like what anybody says, because I get to wake up whatever time I want, and for the most part I get to do whatever I want. I'm still well, my Tops cards do. Okay, cool. We're gonna figure out like what we're gonna do there.
It's just interesting because going into something like your own art show or NFTs, it's like you have the option to make it as a collection. You have the option to say, I'm making 10 of these or I'm making 100 of these. And that's where it starts and that's where it stops. And that has its own implications when you do it that way. But the natural way that most artists is they want to just wake up, make something, maybe call it one later and say, that's my creation for the day. Or I made a bunch of one-of-ones. But it's just like labeling things with numbers and sets and rarities and collections. It definitely has gotten sometimes in the way of creativity for me personally. And you have to always check yourself and remember that that's not what it's about. That's a necessary part of it, and it does have its own creativity to it as well if you embrace it. And I like what Andy said about separating it out, and I like what Blake said about really just like using your lifestyle that you want as a compass for the types of opportunities and things that you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. And I think we are just about over an hour, but I do want to showcase. I am going to open up my first Spotlight 70 box here for Andy. So we'll see what we get. And that way everyone can see the cards as well, too. So if they had not seen the cards yet. Maybe we'll find some gum. I don't know about that. That'd be really crazy, but.
Hey, that would be great. That would be great. Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. So there's no clear packaging, which is nice. So it's just
I designed that.
I'm just gonna go from the front. See if this works here.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
fire.
Sierra. Oops, let's see.
I love Ruben Sierra, dude. Texas Rangers.
Yep.
We're
Frank Viola, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hometown, East Meadow, New York. Frank Viola.
Danny Tartabull, Mariners. There we go.
That's like
87.
glossy.
See if that's got a
Glossy.
number on the back, Chris. I
Check
think
the
that's
back
a
of
glossy.
that.
Yeah, so it's glossy.
Oh, and you got
45,
a zillion parallel there.
45 and
Yeah.
50.
Tight.
Very nice.
There you go. Danny
That's a
Tartabull.
nice one. Mhm.
There you go.
You can tell right away. I'm
Oop.
impressed.
Now that's a parallel because you got the Spotlight 70 logo up there. So that's
Okay.
That's a parallel.
Will this be numbered?
Oh
yeah. Yeah, 38. Lee Mazzilli. If anyone watches my channel, you know about Lee Mazzilli. 38.
Yeah, JK5 did one of his cards.
Yeah.
When JK5 released his card, I didn't know who he was. I was like, who's Lee Mazzilli? So
Went to Lincoln High School, alma mater. My dad.
Hey, let's
There you
go.
We
There
got,
you
we got
go.
the original. Hey, Chris,
no, it's
that
Vito
Mark
Santiago.
Vito.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like a Mark McGuire.
Yeah, that 87 record.
Yeah, the 87 record breakers. And I know
There you
that
go.
all in that card is Mark
Here,
McGuire.
we got the original right here.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. That's good.
oh, yeah, his was an 86 record breakers, huh?
No,
The Mark
it's
McGuire?
this year. It was
Mark
the
McGuire was
87
also
record
87?
breakers. There was a Nolan Ryan record breakers. There was Eddie Murray switch hitting both sides of the plate. There was a Don Mattingly. Nice. That's
Okay.
Gary Matthews.
Gary Matthews, yep. This is very difficult to do. There we go.
Oh, a Lee Mazzilli.
Oh, you got the other Lee.
Yeah, there we go. Two Lee Mazzillis. That's funny.
There you go.
Jared Weaver. There's a somewhat of a current player. Not current, but, not playing.
That's
but.
all. What is that? 1990 design?
No, that's 2012,
Oh,
and I took
yeah.
that from one of the first packs that my then 6-year-old son opened.
That's amazing.
So I tried to tap into his nostalgia also for the
Yeah.
sort of more modern
I
players.
was
really
way
cool.
off. Yeah, that's way more modern. I did I painted one of those one time. And
Yeah.
I recognized that design.
It's fun too
About a
because
decade off.
they're very
Oh, that's fucking.
they're
fire.
very digital. So
Yeah.
to represent them in watercolor was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like this one was great, because it has a like 90
background.
Yep.
Cool there.
90.
That's a Topps traded set.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
That was the.
And then the last one is Ken Griffin.
That's why they were that set.
nice.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's 75. Now that's something that I think it would be a fun spotlight. Would be spotlight on traded sets.
Oh, nice.
Just
Yeah.
because you know what, it's traded sets are interesting because we don't look at them. I don't know. Maybe if you're like me, you keep them in the box because they're so precious and they're cut totally even in the corner. It's perfect in the box. You don't want to take it out. But when you do take it out, you gotta be so careful. It's like you rarely look at these cards. And I think they're really beautiful, to see like Ron Kittle on the white side. It's like, oh man, it's like old friends that you haven't seen in a long time. I think paintings of some of the great traded set cards, like the 85 Topps traded Vince Coleman rookie, or the Ricky Henderson on the Yankees for the first time, or Tim Raines 81 Topps rookie. No one ever looks at these cards. It's something that interests me.
Yeah.
In terms of potential future spotlight.
Yeah. So you have about 70 cards you haven't released, so it's very, very easy for Series 2 right there.
There you go.
That's right.
There you go.
Well, again, though, many of them are you will find alternate versions of some of the cards in the packs.
Perfect.
Maybe I think they use 25 of them, if I'm not mistaken. But,
And then all the variations, they're numbered, correct?
Yeah, and I think the whole checklist is out
Okay.
there, so everyone can see what exactly is floating out there. There are some that are numbered, some that aren't numbered. But
Okay.
Many short run numbered spreads, rainbow foils, 5 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
a lot of fun. And I think, so that's. I'm glad. Thanks for opening that.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I've been waiting for a few weeks now to open these, so I was glad to open the first one now.
Great.
Well, perfect, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you all. I really appreciate it. And of course, this week at Bleecker Trading is everything from Andy Friedman on the walls right there. So check out the website there. And then for each of you, where can everyone reach you all from the website? Obviously, Twitter, social media, all that good stuff.
For me, it's just Efdot, EFEOT, or Efdot Studio on Twitter, and my website's efdotstudio.com.
AndyFriedman.net is my website, and my Instagram is Sunday Friedman. And that's all I got.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Blake Jamieson on social media, Blake.art website.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank
you, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
Yeah.